Welcome to the world of sci-fi stories, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe the channel. Enjoy the listening. Human Council unveils hidden space war arsenal. The mysterious silence of Earth. For decades, the Galactic Council had watched Earth, a young but unpredictable species. Humans had shown rapid technological growth, yet they remained strangely silent. Unlike other species that eagerly joined interstellar politics, Earth kept to itself. No wars, no alliances, no expansion, just silence to the Council. This was unnatural. Every new space faring race either sought power or protection. But Earth, it did nothing. That silence made the Council uneasy. The mission to investigate Earth. Admiral Tyrell of the Velian Empire sat aboard his flagship. The Dominance. His mission was simple: scan Earth, locate any hidden defenses, and report back. The Council wanted answers, and if Earth was hiding something, he would find it. His fleet consisted of 10 advanced warships, each armed with plasma cannons and energy shields strong enough to destroy an entire planet. Earth wouldn't stand a chance if it came to war. As they approached the Sol system, Thyro expected to see defensive stations, patrolling ships, or at least some kind of warning signal, but there was nothing. "Sir, we're receiving no transmissions from Earth," reported his communications officer. "They aren't responding to our presence call," smirked. Typical. The humans were either too weak or too foolish to acknowledge a superior force. "Proceed," he ordered. "Let's see what they're hiding." Strange energy readings as the fleet entered Earth's orbit. "Something strange happened, sir. We're detecting unusual energy signatures," said the sensor officer. "They don't match any known technology." Thyro frowned. "Explain." "I don't know, sir. It's not coming from Earth's surface. It's coming from." The officer hesitated, his face turning pale. "From empty space." Thyro leaned forward. "Empty space? That's impossible." But the readings didn't lie. Somewhere hidden in the darkness of space, something massive was lurking. Then, without warning, the fleet systems flickered, lights dimmed, control panels glitched, the entire ship shook violently. "What's happening?" Call shouted. "Unknown interference," cried an engineer. "Our weapons are offline, shields are failing." Xi's blood ran cold. How was this possible? The invisible threat. The fleet had the most advanced technology in the galaxy. No primitive race should be able to disrupt their systems so easily. Then, out of the void, shadows began to move. Giant metallic shapes slowly emerged from the darkness. Ships, hundreds of them. But these were not ordinary human ships. They were sleek, black, and massive, with no visible weapons or engines. They had been completely invisible until now. Xi's mind raced. How long had these ships been here? How had Earth hidden them from the entire galaxy? A transmission finally came through, but it wasn't a plea for mercy. "This is Admiral Ryan Carter of the Terran Defense Fleet," a calm voice spoke. "You have violated Earth's space. You have one chance to leave. If you do not, we will consider your presence an act of war." Dial clenched his fists. Humans had been waiting for them, and they were not afraid. The hidden fleet awakens. Admiral Tyrell's mandibles clenched in frustration, the calm human voice echoing through his ship felt unnatural. These were supposed to be primitive creatures, barely capable of interstellar travel. Yet here they were standing against one of the most powerful war fleets in the galaxy without fear. He refused to believe it. This had to be a bluff. "Scan those ships," Thyro barked. "I want to know what we're dealing with." The sensor officer's claws hesitated over the control panel. "Sir, our scans aren't working." Xi's breath itched. "What they're being reflected back? It's like these ships don't exist. The impossible ships." The alien fleet floated silently in the darkness, their matte black holes absorbing all light. There were no visible engines, no heat signatures, no weapons. It was as if they had materialized from the void itself. Yet despite their silence, Thyro felt something, a presence, a weight pressing down on him. They were being watched. Admiral Carter's voice came through again. "I'll repeat once more. Leave." Call growled. "Charge plasma cannons. I want those ships destroyed now." His officers hesitated. "Do it." The warships obeyed. Their plasma cannons hummed to life, glowing with deadly blue energy. Targeting systems locked onto the strange vessels. The firing sequence began And then everything failed Earth's secret weapon. One by one, the Villian warships shut down, lights flickered out, engines sputtered, even the gravity stabilizers failed, sending officers floating into the air. Call grabbed the edge of his chair, his heart pounding. What's happening? A terrified engineer clawed at his concert. Sir, we've lost all power, weapons, shields, navigation, everything is dead. Zill's eyes darted to the human fleet. They hadn't fired a single shot. They didn't have to. This is impossible. Call whispered. No species has this kind of technology. The human admiral's voice returned colder. This time you assumed we were weak. That was your first mistake. Outside, the human ships moved, but not like normal ships. They flickered. One moment they were there, the next they were meters away. They didn't fly, they shifted as if reality itself bent around them. Schroll had never seen anything like it. What are they? He muttered. His communications officer's voice shook. Sir, I don't think we're fighting spaceships. Cole turned then, and what the officer swallowed hard. I think we're looking at weapons, living weapons, the fleet that shouldn't exist aboard his flagship. Admiral Carter watched the disbelieved villain fleet the enemy had walked straight into Earth's trap, just as planned. Humanity had been preparing for this moment for decades. While the galaxy saw Earth as quiet and isolated, they had been developing something beyond conventional warfare, something no alien race could predict. Carter opened a secure channel. Phase 1 complete. Prepare for Phase 2. Across the hidden fleet, unseen systems activated. A low hum vibrated through the void. The human ships began moving again, circling the helpless alien warships like predators sizing up prey on the Villian flagship. Panic set in. Sir, an officer shouted, something is happening. Then for the first time the human ships attacked, and the galaxy would never be the same. Humanity's unconventional warfare. Admiral Tyru had fought countless battles. He had crushed rebellious colonies, outmaneuvered enemy warlords, and conquered entire planets. But nothing, not even the worst war zones, had prepared him for this. His fleet, 10 of the most advanced Valen warships, was completely powerless. His officers were panicking, clawing at dead consoles, screaming into silent seas. And the human fleet, it was moving, but not like normal ships. The black, featureless vessels didn't accelerate, they didn't turn, they shifted, disappearing from one spot and reappearing in another like ghosts, flickering through space. Then, without warning, the first human warship attacked. The strike that changed everything. It was subtle. There was no visible weapon, no explosion, just a pulse. A deep, resonating hum echoed through the void. Zyro barely had time to process it before his ship began to break, not from fire, not from impact. The metal itself was dissolving, flaking away as if time was speeding up. Walls that had stood for centuries crumbled in seconds. What is this? High-roll bellow. An engineer was shaking his scales. Pale. Sir, our hull is aging. The metal is rotting. That was impossible. No weapon in the known universe could accelerate time itself. Yet here they were, the fleet that shouldn't exist. Call forced himself to think there had to be a logical explanation. He turned to his weapons. Officer, fire at something. The officer slammed his claws against the controls. Nothing, sir, our weapons aren't offline. They're just gone. Zill's breath hitched. He looked at the control panels where there should have been energy readings. For plasma cannons, there was nothing. Like they had never existed then. Carter's voice returned, calm and unshaken. You assumed we'd fight by your rules. That was your second mistake. The unpredictable nature of humanity. This wasn't war. This wasn't even a battle. This was a demonstration. Fyro realized with growing horror that the humans weren't destroying his fleet. They were showing what they could do, testing their power, proving a point. A new alarm blared. Sir, the sensor officer gasped. The human ships are inside our hull. Call spun around. What? That's impossible. We have. He stopped because the officer was right. The human ships had phased inside the Valen vessels. They weren't docked, they weren't invading, they were just existing inside them, as if the ships weren't bound by physical space at all. Then the final message came through. This is your last warning, Carter said. Leave now. Zyro clenched his mandibles. His pride screamed at him to fight, to stand his ground. But his instincts knew better. His fleet was already lost, his weapons were gone, his ships were rotting, and his enemy hadn't even tried yet. He had no choice. All ships Vol growled retreat. His officers hesitated now. The remnants of the Velian fleet vanished into hyperspace, and just like that the battle was over. The message to the galaxy in the Galactic Council chambers. New news of the failed invasion spread like wildfire. The Vakans, one of the most feared military powers, had been humiliated. More importantly, Earth's secret was out. For centuries, the galaxy had seen humans as weak, primitive, unworthy of attention. Now there were something else, something terrifying, something unstoppable. And as the council scrambled to decide what to do next, one thing was certain: humanity had just changed the balance of power forever. The war that never began. The Voan fleet limped back to their home system, broken and humiliated. Inside his war chamber, Admiral Cyro stood in silence, watching the data feeds replay the battle, if it could even be called that. A battle required two sides to fight. The humans had never fought them. They had demonstrated. Zio's claws dug into the metal console. He had faced terrifying enemies before. He had been outgunned, outnumbered, even ambushed. But he had never been outfought, and that's what made humans the most dangerous species he had ever encountered. The galaxy demands answers. The Galactic Council was in chaos. Representatives from 100 species shouted over each other, demanding explanations. How had humanity, a species once seen as barely space staring, created weapons beyond comprehension? Impossible, growled a reptilian warlord. They must have stolen the technology from whom? And even diplomats scoffed. Who in the entire galaxy has weapons that can rot metal, erase data, or phase through ships? No one. A deep mechanical voice rumbled through the chamber. The Arvian, the ancient I race, had remained silent until now. He analyzed the human technology. The Aravan speaker said there are no known materials or energy signatures that match their weapons, do not operate under standard physical laws. The chamber fell into stunned silence. Then a nervous voice asked the question everyone feared: then how do we stop them? Inside Earth's Shadow Command, deep beneath Earth's surface, in a hidden bunker far below the ocean, Admiral Carter watched the council's panic transmissions. A soft chuckle escaped his lips. They're scared, said a voice behind him. Carter turned to face Evelyn Shaw, the lead scientist of Project Obsidian, the woman who had helped reshape war itself. They should be, Carter replied. They thought Earth was weak. Now they know the truth. Shaw leaned against the console, arms crossed. We could have destroyed them, every last one of them. Carter nodded. But we didn't. And that was the true power of Earth's secret arsenal. It wasn't about war, it was about control. The galaxy would not attack Earth now. They wouldn't dare, because they didn't know what humanity was truly capable of. And the unknown was far more terrifying than any weapon. The secret that changed everything. Words spread across the stars. Some civilizations saw Earth as a threat. Others saw them as potential allies. Some even whispered that humanity had tapped into something unnatural, something beyond science. But one thing was clear: the balance of power had shifted, and Earth, the quiet, overlooked world, was now the most feared planet in the galaxy. The offer humanity couldn't refuse. The galaxy was holding its breath. No fleets dared approach Earth. No spies returned with useful intel. The once dismissed humans have become a myth, a terrifying unknown force lurking in the void. And yet, despite their fear, the Galactic Council could not ignore them. So they sent a message, an invitation, a seat at the table inside the Shadow Command bunker. Admiral Carter and Evelyn Shaw studied the transmission from the Galactic Council. They asking for negotiation, Shaw murmured. Carter smirked. They're asking for mercy. The Council had never invited humanity before. For centuries, Earth had been seen as a backwater planet, too primitive to join galactic politics. Now, the same council that had once ignored Earth was begging them to talk. A holographic display flickered to life. The face of Chancellor Varric, a high-ranking council leader, appeared. His voice was calm, But his eyes betrayed his fear. Humans of Earth, he be again. It is time we speak, not as conquerors or enemies, but as equals. Carter chuckled. Equals now. They wanted to talk the first step toward control. A week later, a human warship, the Obsidian Dawn, entered the Galactic Council's headquarters. Unlike the polished silver designs of alien ships, it was pure black, absorbing light. Instead of reflecting it, it looked like a shadow sea from the void itself. As Carter and his team stepped out, the council chamber fell silent. Every alien representative watched, wary and tense. The Velian Admiral CYO sat stiffly, his mandibles clenched. He had barely survived his last encounter with humanity. He would not forget. Chancellor Varric stood, his voice steady. We welcome the delegation from Earth. Carter simply nodded. He didn't bow, didn't thank them. He just waited. The silence was deafening. Finally, an Avan diplomat spoke. We must ask, what are your demands? A small, knowing smile crossed Carter's face. They were already negotiating from a position of weakness. Perfect, the real power play. You assumed we wanted war, Carter said. His voice was calm, but it carried a weight that made even the bravest aliens uneasy. That was your mistake. We don't seek war, Varric said carefully. We seek cooperation. Carter's eyes clinged now. They were getting somewhere. The Council has ruled this galaxy for centuries. Carter continued. Empires rise and fall under your influence, but now everything has changed. You know what we can do, and you know you can't stop us. Silence. The truth hung in the air like a storm cloud. Finally, Vic exhaled. Then tell us, Admiral Carter, what does humanity want? Carter leaned forward, his voice barely a whisper. Everything. Humanity's unseen war. The room fell into silence. Carter's words, everything, hung in the air like a blade pressed against the galaxy's throat. Across the chamber, alien leaders exchanged nervous glances. Some whispered among themselves, others simply stared, trying to comprehend how an ignored backwater species had flipped the balance of power overnight. Chancellor Varric swallowed hard. Surely you don't mean conquest? Carter smiled, cold and calculating. Conquest is inefficient. Why rule through war when we can rule through fear? The truth that broke the council. The Velian Admiral Cyro, still nursing the wounds of his humiliating defeat, slammed a fist on the table. You expect us to live under your shadow, to obey without resistance? Carter turned his gaze to Cyro. You already do. The Velian mandibles twitched, but he said nothing. Carter continued, addressing the whole council. Your fleets won't move against us. Your spies won't dare approach Earth. Your people whisper about us in fear. That's not diplomacy, Chancellor. That's control. A reptilian warlord hissed. What is it you truly want? Carter exhaled slowly. Then he leaned forward and delivered the real demand. The Shadow Agreement. You will grant Earth full access to the Council's technology archives. Gasps echoed through the chamber. The archives contain centuries of research blueprints for weapons and classified secrets of every major species. We can't just give you a diplomat started, but Carter cut him off. Or he said casually, we activate FIS protocol. Every screen in the council chamber flickered, the lights dimmed, and then the evidence appeared. Carter's team had infiltrated the galaxy's most secure systems. They had already copied everything of Aluan worshipped shield configurations at Eider Empire's cloaking blueprints, even the Erivan A core schematics. We don't need you to hand us the secrets, Carter said smoothly. We already took them. We're just giving you a chance to act like you're in control. The chamber erupted into chaos. The fear that won the war in a hidden corner. An insectoid diplomat turned to his advisor, whispering in a panicked tone, they fought a war that never began, he said, his mandibles clicking, and they already won. A week later, the council announced that Earth was now a recognized power. Officially, they framed it as a new alliance. Unofficially, every species in the galaxy now served a silent empire. The humans didn't raise armies, they didn't conquer planets, they simply made the galaxy afraid to cross them. And that was far more powerful than any war. The unseen rulers of the galaxy. A month had passed Since Earth's quiet victory across the stars, the ripple effect was undeniable. Fleets that once patrolled the edges of human space now kept their distance. Intelligence networks once infiltrating Earth with ease had gone dark. The galaxy was in an uneasy silence, and that silence meant one thing. Humanity ruled. Whispers in the dark on a distant world. A meeting took place in secret. A collection of alien warlords, exiled admirals, and rogue scientists had gathered to discuss the unthinkable. Fighting back, we cannot allow this, growled a reptilian general, his tail twitching in frustration. The humans didn't conquer us, they simply took control, and we let them. An insectoid tactician chittered nervously. We underestimated them once. If we move against them now, we may not live to regret it. A hooded figure and Erivan eye intelligence spoke in its deep mechanical voice. There is another way. The room fell silent. The AI continued. The humans did not rise through brute force. They won by knowing everything. If we can find the source of their knowledge, we may reclaim our freedom. Earth's true weapon, deep beneath the Pacific Ocean, in a hidden base known only as Obsidian Nexus. Admiral Carter stood before the glowing inter of the archive. A vast, unseen intelligence pulsated within. Status, Carter asked her. Evelyn Shaw smiled, tapping the console. The council thinks they can resist. Some have already begun plotting. Carter smirked. Good, that's exactly what we wanted. The final move in a dark void beyond any known system. A single human vessel, the Obsidian Shadow, moved unseen. Inside, a lone operative activated a transmission. The galaxy believes it can break free. The operative whispered, they don't realize we control the very resistance they plan to build on Earth. Carter listened to the transmission and nodded. Let them struggle, he said. The